Hi and welcome back to my channel. Before I get into the details of today's video, if you haven't yet, go watch my previous video on chocolate chip cookies. That video caters to the detailed recipe and the preparation methods for chocolate chip cookies. In this video, I will specifically be talking about the tips and tricks to get the crunchiest and the softest cookies according to your likeness. Now I'm gonna jump straight into it. Brown sugar for chocolate chip cookies is the key to everything. The type of brown sugar that you choose will decide on the quality of your brown sugar. Now the brown sugar that I'm showing you is granulated. As you can see, these are crystals and they're very fine and they do not stick together. I'm not sure if it's visible on camera, but I'm trying to make it into a pile, but it doesn't work, and it's very fine crystallized. Such crystallized kind of sugar is what gives your cookies the crunchiness. Moving on to the other type of brown sugar. Now this brown sugar that I'm showing is not granulated, it is more like powdered form. And such brown sugar has high molasses content. Molasses is what gives your cookies the softness you desire, and as I'm trying to pile it up, it does work and it clumps up into these big piles because of the molasses content, which causes it to stick together. This stickiness is what gives your cookies the soft texture. Molasses is also available in markets separately, you can buy that. And this is not exactly a necessity for chocolate chip cookies, but if you do not have chocolate chips and you're using cooking chocolate of any sort, make sure that the chocolate that you're using is room temperature. The reason why you need a room temperature chocolate is because if you try making chunks with a really hard chocolate, you won't be able to control the size of the chunks, which is very, very important. If you have huge chunks, your chocolate chip cookies will not get the proper shape, and if you have very small chunks, then they won't melt and it won't be a really gooey chocolate. Here I'm showing you the batter for crunchy cookies, which is gooey and sticky and grainy. The grainy texture is of the large sugar crystals that I've used. These sugar crystals will melt and give your cookies the crunchiness. Now, when you're placing the cookies, make sure you space them apart quite reasonably. For crunchy cookies, the space should be large because they tend to spread out a little more compared to softer, gooey cookies. Now moving on to the soft cookie dough. Wait, I'm gonna show this to you in a better format. So yeah, this is what your soft cookie dough will look like. As you see, it is sturdy, it has a high wheat content, and you do not see any graininess because the sugar that I have used is very fine, it doesn't have chunks, and the brown sugar that I used again has high molasses content, and it's easy to shape too. But if you find it hard to shape your cookies, you can always use a little bit of margarine, shortening, or any grease on your hands so that the batter does not stick. This will not be necessary for softer cookies, but for the crunchy cookies, because of high sugar, it may stick, so you might need this in those cookies. In these cookies, it's not that important. And now, in order to show you the size of what one cookie should look like, it's a little less than a tablespoon. This is average size for a cookie, and this is just perfect. Now you're going to spread out your cookies and then cook them evenly. More evenly spaced, and the more even the cookie size, the better they will cook. If one is too small or too large, you don't want that. When the cookies are done cooking, you're going to open the oven slightly and let them cool. But skip this step for the crunchy cookies. You can directly remove them from the oven. Another thing that you do not want to do is when your cookies are just out of the oven, do not try to lift them, you'll break them. Let them dry out and leave the butter paper, and then you can remove them without actually torturing them. I should have mentioned this earlier, but oh well. When you're buttering the sugar and butter, make sure the butter you're using is perfectly room temperature, it's not hard. You have to make sure that everything gets combined perfectly. And that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you liked it. Share, subscribe, do watch the previous video, and let me know in the comment section what you think about these cookies and if the tips were useful.